Hi guys, Silksong. That's, coming soon, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, as the release of Silksong draws closer and closer, I'm kinda getting a little worried about it. I just really hope it doesn't fall into a few traps I could see it in. As of making this video, I haven't seen the second trailer and really don't plan to. I want as blind a playthrough as possible as I can get when I start. So if any of these issues were addressed there, shut up. Hollow Knight is filled with upgrades and collectibles all over the place, each one feeling just as important as the last. I don't know how they did it, but Team Cherry managed to make even the optional pickups feel important in some way. Compared to games like Ori and its sequel, every collectible in Hollow Knight feels memorable to me. Even the money collectibles are memorable in some way. My biggest worry for Silksong is that I won't want to 100% it, and it's a really scary thought. Silksong is going to be bigger than Hollow Knight. It's pretty much a fact. But honestly, with such a big scope, where can you even fit in new upgrades and collectibles? There really don't need to be more direct upgrades such as mass shards, and the other upgrades will eventually get boring if there are too many of them. Hollow Knight strikes the perfect balance of never really getting old, but getting those last percentages is really close to being tedious. With the bigger size, Silksong might face the problem Hollow Knight just barely managed to avoid. Pretty much, I really hope that I never get let down by the pickups in the base game, and I really hope I get the feeling of being somewhere I'm not supposed to be, or feeling triumphant after a powerful and cinematic boss. I'm not super worried about this point, as Team Cherry definitely did a good job here with Deep Nest, the Resting Grounds, and Hornet 2, but this really can make or break the game. This is a really tough segment of Silksong to discuss. Honestly, it's going to be super hard for Team Cherry to create a game that fits the difficulty expectations of newcomers and Hollow Knight fans at the same time. My main worry is that from what I've heard so far, and I have no source to back this up, so I could be wrong, Silksong is going to start out the same difficulty as Hollow Knight and only expand beyond that at the same rate Hollow Knight did in the bonus content after you complete the game. The stuff like God Home and Hollow Knight, but whatever that equivalent is in Silksong. This kind of concerns me, probably more than most people. I'm really worried that I'm just gonna breeze through the game. I mean, I've beaten Hollow Knight in just over an hour, and there's a decent chance that when this video is out, that personal best will be lowered again. Sure, this is because I know the route of the game, but it's also because I've practiced the combat system that is very similar to what is in Silksong, to its fullest, and can make quick work of pretty much anything. When I played Hollow Knight for the first time, it was my second platformer ever after Celeste. The only combat system I had ever used were the ones in a few of the LEGO games. When I saw a boss fight, it was a massively impactful thing. When I got a new upgrade, it was the first one in 5 hours. When I played Ori, I got 5 upgrades a day. Boss fights weren't impactful, they were gamey. I will admit, Hollow Knight does have some pretty gamey boss fights, and you don't really get a huge connection to the boss fights. It took until playing Undertale very recently for me to realize what boss fights really could be, and I really hope that there are going to be more boss fights that do feel like Hornet or Papyrus and Sands from Undertale. I'm really worried that the bulk of the difficulty is going to be saved for just a bit of endgame content, like how God Home is much harder than the rest of Hollow Knight. While I can appreciate God Home since it was DLC content, if Silksong doesn't manage to surpass Hollow Knight's difficulty with just its base game, it would be a little unfortunate. Because as much as I love God Home, and believe me, I do love God Home, I also wish that fights like Pure Vessel or the Nail Masters were integrated into the base game. I would love to have seen Pure Vessel, or at least a weaker version of Pure Vessel, appear at the end of the White Palace. Okay, I really don't have much to say for this section, mostly just keep the characters relevant. In a game where there are 2 times as many things to do but the same amount of impactful story moments, you aren't going to have a super exciting time. Basically, just pacing. Hollow Knight was infamously not incredible with its pacing, so this is definitely a valid concern. I really wonder how they're going to do a lot of that stuff, but the main point is just I really hope that they manage their size with important content well. Silksong is going to be a contained story from what I can tell. Its events are almost definitely separate from that of Hollow Knight, and its characters are probably going to be mostly or all unique, aside from Hornet, of course. I worry that Silksong's cast won't be interesting enough, but more than that, I worry that the game will be so disconnected to Hollow Knight that it'll just sit a little wrong. There are so many Hollow Knight stories that I want to see concluded, like that of the Nailmasters, the Shade Lord in Hollow Knight, and the aftermath of the infection, that I feel like we might never get answers to, and that's really sad. Silksong is the sequel to Hollow Knight, but what does that even mean? What if it really is just another Hollow Knight? Not an upgrade, but just more of the same? It wouldn't be bad, sure. Hollow Knight was an incredible game, but if Silksong is nothing more than just Hollow Knight again, it would be really underwhelming. Not bad, but disappointing. Silksong advertises itself as the culmination of everything the Metroidvania genre has to offer. Maybe not intentionally by Team Cherry, but as the sequel of Hollow Knight, it has a lot to live up to. The way I see it, Silksong has the potential to become the quote-unquote perfect Metroidvania that Ori 2 admittedly failed to do. Sorry to all Ori fans. Actually, I've bashed Ori 2 a lot in this video, and I need to add a disclaimer here. Ori 2 is a great game. I really like it. I just don't like it as much as I like Hollow Knight. Even still, there's a lot of stuff that Ori 2 did better than Hollow Knight, like the bash, which is the best mechanic in all of gaming, by the way. But if Ori 2 was as good as it was compared to Ori 1, then Silksong could very well do the same thing to Hollow Knight, and that fantasy is one worth dreaming. I would never be making this video if I didn't think that Silksong had the potential to dethrone the greats, so I really hope that they get everything right. And that also means making all the side characters interesting and potentially related to Hollow Knight. Please, Team Cherry, all I want is to be able to break through a wall to find the Kingdom's Edge. I don't need anything more than that. All I want is a Kingdom's Edge biome that could be a small thing, just anything to connect the two games in a meaningful way. Fan service is absolutely welcome here, I'm serious. A worry I have is that if the two worlds are completely separate from one another, it would be much harder to be invested in the characters, because I don't care about Hornet's real stories with the Knight. I won't care about any of these new characters because those aren't Hornet's real friends. One thing I think would be really cool is if Hornet got some upgrade that allowed her to interact with an item that in Hollow Knight wasn't interactable. Something like being able to break a seal of binding. Kinda makes sense, right? I don't really know. I don't know the lore very well. But it's a good example of using the pre-established world of Hollow Knight to the benefit of Silksong, and it's something that could really benefit the game. Alright, we have reached the point in this video where I can't protect you from spoilers anymore. So if you don't want to get spoiled about one of the mechanics in Silksong or something, I won't have that many spoilers in here, and I'll try to be as vague as possible, but just know that I will be talking about some actual features in Silksong now. Keep in mind that for this next section, there will be some spoilers in it. Alright, are they gone? I hope they're gone. I think they're gone. I don't know. You guys gone? You better be gone now, because... Guys, oh my god, the new Pogo is so cool! Silksong's new charm system, which I believe is called Tools, is kind of a horrible idea. I'm sorry, but the idea of a non-replenishable item outside of refueling at benches, of course, sounds like a horrible idea. Just try to imagine God Home, but every once in a while you had to take a break to replenish Geo. Imagine if in Hornet 2, you suddenly were unable to cast another Shade Soul because you need to reach the next bench to refill your Shade Soul charges. Or in this case, you'd probably just die and play the rest of the fight without one of your important mechanics. Seriously, Team Cherry, what on earth were you thinking? One of Hollow Knight's most interesting mechanics, the Soul Meter, feels like it's just being completely sidelined here. I mean, the new Silk Meter itself looks like a way less readable version of the Soul Meter. Overall, aside from the new awesome dash and pogo, and I will stress that the new movement looks really cool and the animations are great, this new combat system looks like a mess, and the consumables... Okay, I feel like I should really explain what I mean here. The problem with consumables is that in most games, Silksong's demo included, you never feel obligated to use them, and since you are punished for using them, you don't. It's as if they took the spell mechanic from Hollow Knight, saw how new players never used it, and said, huh, I wonder how I can make even fewer people want to use these. One really important thing to point out is that we'll probably never be using these tools outside of boss fights, which is really boring. We're basically limiting our exploration down to just the normal needle swing and whatever the equivalent of spells are, and maybe a type of nail art if those are coming, and that's really boring. I'm really scared about consumables, and this really genuinely is a make or break point in the game. Yes, I know it sounds interesting on paper, so did Ori 1's save mechanic, and we all know how horrible that was. Consumables will not work for a game like Hollow Knight in any sort. I mean, do y'all remember Baldur Shell? No, exactly. Team Cherry has effectively turned one of the main combat tools in Silksong into Baldur Shell. Exploring with tools will be really difficult due to not knowing when your next bench will be, and in general this feels like a significantly worse version of spells. I feel like I should also mention that I hope Silksong doesn't take the Ori 2 route and give you just an ability wheel with a ton of different things. I don't really see it happening, but I think it's important to mention. Anyways, I am really not a fan of these new tools. That's not even the end of it though. I have no source for this, but I've heard that there will be a type of food item in Silksong, which honestly it's probably just a rumor, but if a food item gets added to Silksong, oh, that'd be horrible. The closest thing we had in Hollow Knight to consumables were the fragile charms, and it really should not go any further than that. Overall, I'm just really concerned about this whole system. To be blunt, the organized quest system is really dumb and kinda kills some of the joy of exploration. I once again am going to make a comparison to Ori, specifically Ori 2, which had frequent quest markers for every single important thing in the game, and it really just made the game feel so gamey and hand-holding, which honestly is really sad. One of the best feelings from Hollow Knight was just stumbling across really important things. I had that experience with Dreamnail when I found it before finding Claw because I grinded out some Geo for the Lantern early game. That was such a special moment for me because I felt like I didn't belong where I was. If there was a quest marker there, I wouldn't feel that same way. I really hope that we'll still be able to do things like that in Silksong, but if we're just being told what kinds of quests we can complete, we might not be able to experience that. Exploration is at the core of Metroidvanias. It's what makes them such an interesting genre in the first place. At its worst, an organized quest system could destroy the whole aspect of the genre, as seen in Ori 2. And if Ori fell in this trap, what's to say Silksong won't too? Overall, exploration has been a very difficult focus for Team Cherry as of late. The content packs that were added to Hollow Knight really didn't expand the exploration at all, even though fans most definitely wanted it to. On a tangentially related note, the more I play the early game of Hollow Knight, the more I realize how different normal enemy and boss design really is. This distinction really makes running around the world feel a lot worse. I know that Silksong will have more involved enemies, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to, because it's a big critique I have of Hollow Knight. Once on a stream with you guys, I was looking at all the promotional stuff for Hollow Knight and discovered that every biome, all but 2 upgrades, and so many secrets and lore bits were spoiled before you even needed to open the game. Yeah, that's right. Every single upgrade in Hollow Knight, except a few nail arts, were spoiled in trailers. They even showed off the White Palace. Now, what if Silksong did that? What if every single area was already revealed? Consider the idea that when Ari said,
so you can probably see a lot of those places, and obviously in Team Cherry style, there are many other places that we have not yet revealed.
He was very wrong. This is the reason why I didn't watch the second trailer and do my best not to watch the first anymore. I'm worried that Team Cherry has genuinely spoiled the vast majority of the game already. There really isn't that much more to say here. This worry sort of explains itself, but I am terrified that too much has already been shown and that we've already doomed ourselves. That sounded so cynical. The final section of this video isn't the most spoiler heavy or the biggest issue, but instead I've left it to the end because I think it's the most interesting subject to talk about. Here I have fewer complaints, and I'm more so just curious to see the direction that Team Cherry takes. Hollow Knight was a game about a dead kingdom. It felt really magical because it captured that feeling really well. When I first saw the stag approaching and 2D animation traveling forward, it felt like a drawing, one that gave to me the same feeling as Gothic art. It was really strange and maybe just something I felt, but it was really magical. When I saw the platform that brought me from the stag base in Dirtmouth up to the town, those gears in the machine gave the same feeling, a sort of old industrial style that conveyed the feeling of doom, time, and magic. It really made you feel small, and at least for me, it made me really imagine what was waiting for me at the bottom of the world. Silksong is not that. It looks like it's going to make the player feel more like a predator instead of prey, which is an interesting choice. I wonder which I'm going to prefer. Probably Hollow Knight, but we'll see. There's a lot of details to notice in that regard too. Silksong feels a lot more open, with more large rooms in the demo than Hollow Knight had. Hollow Knight is a pretty claustrophobic game in a lot of biomes, which serves it well. I wonder if Silksong's new atmosphere will live up to Hollow Knight's. One thing is for sure though, there's a certain biome from the announcement trailer that looks amazing, and I can't wait to explore it and everything else that is coming. You know which one I'm talking about if you saw the trailer. I'm gonna miss feeling small in Hollow Knight, but I know that Silksong won't disappoint me. I really want to clarify right here that I believe that Silksong will probably be my favorite game when it comes out. It looks absolutely beautiful, and everything from the music to the gameplay is so extremely on point. Silksong is amazing, and regardless of whether any of these flaws make it into the final game or not, I'm still so glad that Team Cherry has spent the time to make this game. Thanks. So that about summarizes my thoughts. This video is inspired by Relia's similar video on the topic. I wanted to see if I could take what he did and enhance it with a fully realized script and a few more sections. I strongly recommend watching Relia's video though, it's very well done, it'll be linked below. There's also a lot of stuff that he said that I didn't say. It's a good watch, and I enjoyed watching it, and that's the reason why I wanted to make this video. Otherwise, I'm really sorry that I haven't uploaded in a few months. School has been really hard as of late, but I'm doing the best I can. I hope to upload something else for you guys within a month, but we'll see what happens. Overall, if you guys have any feedback for me, leave it in the comments. I'm not very experienced with making videos, so if anyone has any tips, I really want to hear it. Overall, I'm excited for Silksong greatly, and I think it's going to be an incredible game. I just really hope it can take my #1 spot. Thanks so much for watching until the end, everyone. Every view and like means a ton to me. See ya!
Bwahaha! I'm in. It is I, Jacob McNabb, and I've come to take over this YouTube channel. What's this? Hollow Knight? Not anymore. This is a dedicated Red Ball Reverse channel from now on. Bwahaha! What? No, your firewalls are too strong for me. This won't be the last you hear from me. I'm warning you.